Welcome into the Gold and Blue Lunch Report. I'm Brad Howe filling in for Alan Taylor. At Big 12 Basketball Media Day earlier this week, League Supervisor of Officials Curtis Shaw unveiled some big news. The physical play we've seen dominate college basketball over the last few years will no longer be tolerated. Freedom of movement for the players is the new goal. No more physical play? That can't be good for a Mountaineer basketball squad that was referred to as Press Virginia last year for its aggressive, in-your-face physical style. Bob Huggins doesn't necessarily agree that this new style of officiating will hurt the Mountaineers.
I mean, it depends, and I've had this discussion with numerous people who think that the game needs change. But I mean, if they call verticality, it could help us. Tony, then there'll be no more people banging into the trap, to try to get out of it. If they call walking when guys switch pivot feet in the trap, I think it's advantageous for us.
I'm joined now by Greg Hunter, and Greg, it's pretty obvious how this could affect the Mountaineer defense, but offensively, it may provide some benefit for WVU. We saw this change try and be implemented a couple of years ago. Jawan Staten was really able to take advantage of this rule because nobody could stay in front of him. They couldn't hand check him. He did a great job of getting to the basket. As you look at the roster this year, who are some guys that could potentially take advantage of this new rule from the offensive end?
Well, it is important because Staten 2 years ago had 7.5 free throw opportunities per game. Last year it was down to 5.5. So even as good as he was as a senior, he was harder to keep off the foul line as a junior. So this year you're going to need people who can do that. Staten's gone. But Javon Carter and Tariq Phillips certainly are two guys that appear that they have that ability. More so probably Phillip. He showed late in the season he could get to the rim really well. Carter a bit more of a shooter, but he can also get to the rim as well. And the wild card is Essa Ahmad, a big guy who also has shown flashes in the little we've seen of him of the ability to get to the rim. A big guy can do it just as easily as a little guy, though you think of the little guy doing it first.
West Virginia's football team is off this weekend, but there's still some really intriguing Big 12 games. Let's start with Kansas State at Texas. Texas comes in off a bye after having taken down Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. Kansas State comes into this one off a beatdown at the hands of the Sooners last week. K-State is 24-11 as an underdog in conference games. I'll go with Texas here, but this might be closer than the experts think. Texas Tech at Oklahoma. Tech struggled with Kansas last week. Yes, you heard that right. The Red Raiders led 20-0 at halftime, but ended up needing a late interception return for a touchdown to put away the Jayhawks. Oklahoma enters this game after dismantling K-State in Manhattan. The Wildcats hadn't been shut out at home since 1991. I'm going with the Sooners in this one. Iowa State at Baylor. Now, after what we saw from Baylor's offense last week, there's no reason to think Baylor will ever lose another football game again, right? Well, at least this week. They don't lose here. The Bears roll again against Iowa State. And finally, Kansas at Oklahoma State. Do I really even need to tell you who I think is going to win this one? It's Kansas. Take Oklahoma State big. That'll do it for today's Gold and Blue Lunch Report. I'm Brad Howe.